March 4, 2026, 2:34 a.m. Eastern Syria, near Iraqi border. 12 Delta Force operators insert via Black Hawk helicopters into a desert town held by ISIS. Intelligence says 15 fighters guard a high-value target. An ISIS commander responsible for planning attacks across the region. The mission is straightforward. Fast insertion. Clear the compound. Capture or kill the target. Extract before dawn. Standard raid. Standard night. The operators have done this hundreds of times. Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Somalia. Hunting terrorists is their specialty, their purpose, their expertise. This should take 30 minutes, maybe an hour if the target resists. Then helicopters return. Mission complete. Operators go home. But intelligence is wrong. Catastrophically wrong. Because the town doesn't hold 15 ISIS fighters. It holds 200. And they're not guarding a compound. They're waiting, in prepared positions, with machine guns and RPGs, in buildings surrounding the landing zone, creating perfect ambush, creating kill zone, creating trap that 12 Delta operators are walking into. And what happens in the next 5 hours will involve urban combat at its most intense. Ammunition running critically low, AC-130 gunship and Apache helicopters providing fire support that barely keeps operators alive. And the discovery that ISIS knew they were coming, that someone in the intelligence network told them. That informant compromised the mission. That betrayal created ambush. That 12 Americans almost died because someone sold them out. The numbers are impossible. 12 operators against 200 ISIS fighters. One team against an army. Elite training against fanatical determination. But numbers matter in combat. Matter more than training when ammunition runs out. When fighting becomes desperate. When surrounded in hostile town with no easy extraction. When every building holds enemies. When every corner could hide death. When 5 hours of continuous combat depletes everything except will to survive. That's what 12 Delta operators will face. That's what intelligence failure created. That's what informant betrayal caused. Catastrophic situation where America's most elite soldiers fight for survival in town that was supposed to hold 15 enemies but holds 200. Where mission that should take 30 minutes becomes 5-hour siege. Where capture mission becomes survival mission. Where victory becomes not dying. That's what happens when intelligence is wrong. When enemies know you're coming. When ambush is perfect. When only thing saving you is air support that can't always distinguish friend from foe in urban terrain. Stay with me, because what happens during those 5 hours reveals more than just combat tactics. Reveals how Delta Force survives impossible situations, and why discovering the informant matters more than surviving the ambush. Master Sergeant Jake Morrison commanded the 12-man Delta team, 22 years military, 15 years special operations. This was his 47th direct action raid. He'd captured or killed dozens of high-value targets. Knew the process, knew the risks, knew that intelligence was never perfect. But this intelligence seemed solid. Signal intercepts, drone surveillance, human sources. Everything confirmed ISIS commander was in the compound. Everything confirmed minimal security. Everything confirmed quick raid was feasible. Everything was wrong. Morrison wouldn't know that until bullets started flying, until his team was surrounded, until 5 hours of hell began. At 2:39 a.m., the Black Hawks inserted Morrison's team 200 yards from target compound. Standard procedure. Don't land too close. Don't give enemies warning. Approach on foot. Maintain stealth. The 12 operators moved through dark streets. Night vision showing clear path. Empty buildings. Quiet town. Too quiet. Morrison felt it. Instinct. Something wrong. But mission was authorized. Target was priority. Intelligence was confident. Morrison pushed forward, led his team toward compound, toward ambush, toward 200 ISIS fighters waiting in darkness, watching, preparing, about to spring trap on America's most elite soldiers. At 2:47 a.m., 8 minutes after insertion, Morrison's team reached the compound, stacked on entry point, prepared to breach. Standard dynamic entry, flashbangs, speed, violence of action. But before they could, not from compound, from surrounding buildings, machine gun fire, RPGs from multiple positions, coordinated, pre-planned, ambush. Morrison's team dove for cover, returned fire, assessed situation instantly. 200 yards from landing zone, surrounded by buildings full of enemies, caught in kill zone, worst tactical position possible. Morrison made immediate decision. Break contact. We're moving to defensible position. Alpha team, suppress. Bravo team, move. 6 operators provided covering fire while 6 moved to better position. 3-story building, concrete, defensible. Better than being caught in open street. At 2:53 a.m., Morrison's team was inside defensive position. 3 floors, concrete walls, good fields of fire, but surrounded. ISIS fighters in every building, hundreds of them, firing continuously. RPGs impacting walls, machine guns creating crossfire. Morrison radioed extraction. Command, Dagger 1. We are in heavy contact. Approximately 200 hostiles. Request immediate air support and extraction. The response was immediate shock. Dagger 1, say again. 200, Morrison confirmed. Affirmative. 200. This was ambush. They were waiting. We need support now. Command acknowledged. Dagger 1, AC-130 is 20 minutes out. Apache flight is 30 minutes. Ground QRF is 90 minutes. Can you hold? Morrison looked at his situation. 12 operators. Limited ammunition. 200 enemies. 20 minutes until air had to hold. No other option. Affirmative. We're holding. Hurry. At 3:15 a.m., Morrison's team had been fighting for 28 minutes. Ammunition was already concerning. Each operator carried 7 magazines, 210 rounds, standard load. But continuous fighting burns through ammunition fast. Suppressing fire, target engagement, defensive fire. Each operator had maybe 4 magazines left, 120 rounds. 20 minutes until AC-130 arrived. Morrison ordered ammunition discipline. All teams, conserve ammo, aim shots only, suppress only when they mass for assault, share magazines if needed. The team acknowledged, slowed their fire rate, made shots count. But ISIS kept attacking, kept pushing, kept trying to overrun position, kept dying, but kept coming, fanatical, determined, believing martyrdom awaited, that killing Americans justified everything, that Allah wanted this, that paradise was guaranteed. Can't negotiate with fanatics, can't deter with casualties, can only kill enough to make attacks impossible. But with limited ammunition against 200 fighters, that was difficult math. At 3:35 a.m., AC-130 arrived on station. Gunship, armed with 25mm Gatling gun, 40mm cannon, 105mm howitzer, devastating firepower, perfect for urban combat. The pilot radioed. Dagger 1, Spooky 2 on station. Give me targets. Morrison provided coordinates of buildings holding ISIS fighters. Buildings around his position. The AC-130 engaged. 40-minute rounds impacting buildings, destroying firing positions, killing enemies. The pressure on Morrison's team decreased immediately. ISIS fighters stopped attacking, took cover, tried to survive. Can't fight AC-130. Can't shoot at aircraft with small arms. Can only hide. Can only wait. Can only hope Americans run out of ammunition, run out of air support, run out of options. Then attack again. Overrun them. Kill them all. That was ISIS' plan. Wait out the air support. Attack when vulnerable. At 4 a.m., 2 Apache helicopters arrived. Attack helicopters. Armed with 30mm chain guns, Hellfire missiles, rockets, more firepower, more support. Morrison's tactical situation improved. But ammunition was critical. Most operators down to 2 magazines, 60 rounds, maybe 90 minutes of fighting left. If ISIS attacked continuously, if fire discipline failed, if anything went wrong, the Apaches engaged targets that AC-130 couldn't reach. Buildings too close to Morrison's position. Targets in dead zones. The helicopters methodically destroyed ISIS fighting positions, killed dozens, broke their cohesion, reduced 200 fighters to maybe 100 still combat effective. But 100 was still overwhelming odds against 12. And ammunition was still depleting. And dawn was coming. And daylight would expose Morrison's position, would allow ISIS to see exactly where Americans were, would make defense harder, would make survival less certain. At 5:30 a.m., as dawn broke, Morrison's team had been fighting for 3 hours, down to 1 magazine each, 30 rounds, final magazine, final reserve. After this, only pistols, then knives, then hands, then death. But quick reaction force was close. Ground convoy of Army Rangers, armored vehicles, heavy weapons, coming to extract Delta operators. ETA 30 minutes. Morrison just needed to hold for 30 more minutes. 30 rounds per operator. 30 minutes. Math was barely possible. If ISIS didn't attack, if they just waited, if miracles happened. But ISIS attacked. Massed assault. 50 fighters, trying to overrun position before Rangers arrived. This was final push. Final chance. Kill Americans now or lose chance forever. Morrison's team engaged. Every operator firing. Controlled. Disciplined. 1 shot, 1 kill. Making final magazines count. The AC-130 and Apaches engaged simultaneously, creating wall of fire between ISIS and American position, killing dozens, breaking assault, saving Delta operators from being overrun by sheer numbers. When assault broke, ISIS withdrew, scattered, fled into desert. Mission failed. Americans survived. Rangers would arrive, extract the operators. ISIS lost, completely. At 6 a.m., Rangers arrived. Armored convoy. Overwhelming force. ISIS was gone. 200 fighters reduced to scattered survivors. Morrison's team extracted. All 12 operators alive. 5 wounded. None critical. They'd survived. 5 hours of combat against 200 ISIS fighters, with ammunition nearly depleted. Through air support, through training, through will, through refusal to die, they'd survived. But mission failed. Target not captured, not killed, compound not cleared. Just survival, just making it out. That's what intelligence failure created. That's what ambush forced. That's what informant betrayal almost cost. 12 American lives. Dozen of America's most elite soldiers almost killed because someone told ISIS they were coming. But here's what 5 hours of combat revealed. Here's what investigating the ambush discovered. Here's who the informant was, and why their betrayal matters more than the failed mission. The intelligence that led to the raid came from multiple sources: signal intercepts, drone footage, and human intelligence. Iraqi interpreter working with American forces, providing information on ISIS movements, on leadership locations, on security details. He'd been reliable, had provided good intelligence for months, had enabled successful raids, captured targets, killed enemies, was trusted, was valued, was paid well, was protected, was compromised because ISIS had turned him, had threatened his family, had offered money, had convinced him that betraying Americans was survival, was protecting family, was serving Islam, was justified. So he provided information, then told ISIS, told them when raid was planned, where operators would insert, how many were coming. Everything Americans told him, he told ISIS, creating perfect intelligence for perfect ambush, almost killing 12 Delta operators, almost succeeding in catastrophic attack on American special operations. The investigation took weeks, cross-referencing intelligence sources, tracking communications, following money. The interpreter's bank account showed deposit $20,000, day before the raid, from account linked to ISIS financial network. The interpreter was arrested, interrogated, confessed, explained the threat, the money, the justification, explained that ISIS knew Delta Force was coming, had ambush, had positioned 200 fighters, had orders to kill all Americans, to create propaganda victory, to prove ISIS could defeat America's best. The interpreter had enabled it all, had betrayed trust, had endangered lives, had nearly caused massacre. For $20,000 and threats against family he could have reported, could have told Americans, could have been protected. Instead, he chose betrayal, chose ISIS, chose money, chose outcome that almost killed 12 men. Master Sergeant Morrison received Silver Star for leadership during the ambush. His team received Bronze Stars. The mission was classified failure. Target not captured. Intelligence network compromised. Informant betrayal exposed. But operators survived. All 12. That's victory when numbers say everyone should die. When ambush is perfect. When fighting 200 enemies with 12 men. When ammunition depletes. When only air support prevents death. Survival is victory. Living is success. Coming home is achievement. That's what 5 hours meant. Not failed mission, not lost opportunity, but 12 Americans who went into hell and came back, who fought through ambush, who survived impossible odds, who proved that Delta Force training and American air power and refusal to quit means something, means everything, means that even perfect ambush fails against imperfect men who won't die, who won't surrender, who won't accept defeat, who fight until extraction arrives, until ammunition is gone, until last breath. That's what Morrison's team demonstrated. That's what 5 hours proved. That betrayal creates ambush, but doesn't guarantee success. That information creates advantage, but doesn't ensure victory. That 12 determined Americans with air support can survive 200 fanatics with ambush, can hold for 5 hours, can deplete ammunition, can wound but not break, can endure. That's Delta Force. That's American Special Operations. That's what March 4th represented. Not failed mission, but survived ambush, but exposed betrayal, but prevented massacre, but proved resilience. That's everything. The interpreter received life sentence, no parole. Betrayal of American forces in combat is treason, is unforgivable. His family was relocated, protected despite his betrayal, because American military protects even families of traitors, because that's who Americans are, even when betrayed, even when nearly killed, even when 12 operators almost died because one interpreter valued $20,000 over 12 lives. The military protected his family, then ensured he'd never threaten anyone again, never betray anyone again, never enable ambush again. Life in prison, forever. That's justice. That's consequence. That's what betrayal earns when betrayal almost costs American lives. The ISIS fighters who created ambush were hunted systematically. Intelligence gathered from raid, from captured equipment, from interrogated survivors. Within months, 50 were killed in targeted strikes, 20 captured in raids. The ISIS commander that was original target was killed by drone strike 6 weeks later. Mission accomplished. Just delayed. Just more expensive. Just required more operations, but accomplished. Target dead. Network disrupted. Threat reduced. That's persistence. That's how American military responds to ambush, to betrayal, to failed missions. Not by accepting failure, by continuing, by adapting, by hunting until threat is eliminated, until target is dead, until mission succeeds. Eventually, always. That's March 4th legacy. Not failed raid, but beginning of campaign. Campaign that destroyed ISIS cell, that killed or captured everyone involved in ambush, that ensured 200 fighters who created kill zone became casualties themselves. Some immediately, some eventually, but all, every single one, found, targeted, eliminated. That's what ambushing Delta Force earns. That's what betrayal creates. Not safety, not victory, just delayed justice, just eventual destruction, just certainty that America will hunt you, will find you, will kill you, for attempting to kill 12 operators who survived, who came home, who told their story, who ensured everyone involved paid price, completely, forever. March 4th, 2026 represents everything about modern special operations. The risk, the intelligence dependence, the betrayal possibility, the survival necessity, the air support value, the training importance, the ammunition concern, the extraction timing, the 5 hours between ambush and rescue, the 12 operators between death and survival, the 200 enemies between mission success and total failure. Everything condensed into desert town where Americans fought, survived, extracted, then hunted everyone involved until justice served, until threat eliminated, until mission completed. That's the story. That's the truth. That's what 5 hours accomplished. Not immediate victory, eventual victory. Not perfect mission, survived mission. Not captured target, killed target later. Not prevented betrayal, punished betrayal. Not avoided ambush, survived ambush. That's reality. That's how operations work. Imperfect, dangerous, costly, but ultimately successful. Because 12 operators came home. Because informant goes to prison. Because ISIS cell was destroyed. Because target was killed. Because everything that went wrong on March 4th was eventually made right. Through persistence. Through follow-up. Through refusal to accept ambush as defeat. Just as setback. Just as beginning. Just as motivation for everything that followed. Every strike. Every raid. every operation that destroyed ISIS cell completely. That's March 4th legacy. 5 hours that changed nothing and everything. That failed and succeeded. That nearly killed 12 Americans, but instead revealed betrayal that enabled destruction of entire ISIS network. That's asymmetric result. That's strategic victory from tactical setback. That's how American military turns ambush into intelligence, intelligence into targeting, targeting into strikes, strikes into destruction, destruction into victory. Eventually, always, forever.